Um, I think I have a special relevance here. Just like many people, I haven't been in the industry over 40 years. And coming from the Niger Delta, the river, the creeks, I know what is happening. I know what the people think. I know their reaction. And I think Nigerians are not talking to them, and Nigerians don't want to listen to them. I'll get to that. The environment that we need to attract investment, we talked about laws. In the oil sector, we think we've had good laws. Even in those days when we think we didn't have the capability, we always collaborated with the oil companies and say, what do you do in the US, what do you do in Canada? They will write out something, we send somebody to Alberta Conservation Board and say, this is what happens. Then we turn it back to them as the laws that they must implement. Of course, we needed training to be able to follow up on, to supervise them. So our policies have always been very favorable. We've given, we also have a lot of reserves. Our exploration finds have been quite easy compared to many parts of the world. Our production, most of our fields are produced more than we thought they were going to produce. Good technology, water drive and all those things, good permeability. The fiscal and other incentives, we've been very generous in this country. And like in the LNG, we gave so much. And in the ACFA, the Associated Gas Framework Agreement, we gave so much incentive that we began to wonder if government was not going to start subsidizing this aspect of the industry. Luckily, some of these things, as we've proven, that you can find the oil, that the gas is there and that you have use for it, we begin to look at some of these. When we went into, when there's lull in production and exploration, we put the MOU to encourage the industry to invest more. As we went into deep offshore, our PSC agreements are very favorable, sometimes too favorable for the companies. Luckily, the current managements are beginning to look at those, and the industry is happy because they know there's proven oil there, so they're ready to take less than what they are taking. We've had problems, factors against attracting investments, lack of infrastructure, I won't repeat that, especially power, for corruption, the toll gates, at different levels and situations. Sometimes inconsistency in policy implementation, poor leadership. Now I come to peace and security. Generally, it used to be very good. Nigerians have always been faithful to the agreements, but in the peace and the security of operations, the Niger Delta now looms large. Some of us who are trying to get into small-time operations, we've found that you can't convince people to come and put their money with you. The main issue in the Niger Delta, let me address that. It used to be crop compensation. In the 1950s, they paid so much for cassava, so much for yam. In the 1970s, I remember some of us who were in the government at that time increased this, and they said, no, that's what the law says. And the man finds that the compensation for his farm cannot feed him. He will go into try to find ways of feeding himself, and by being against the government. But the main thing is social justice. We're not talking of a Marshall Plan. Everything you do now, the Niger Delta person feels that Nigeria has done him in. Nigeria has not been consistent because it's a minority. Nigeria has changed the rules anytime down the road. From 50% derivation, because of civil war, they brought it to 0. It had to take agitation for the Babangida government to make it 1.5%. And now, further agitations, people are beginning to feel that they have to agitate, otherwise Nigeria won't listen to them. Just last year, there was this constitutional conference. Niger Delta states got together or producing, say one like 25% derivation. Our brothers in Nigeria said, no way, 13% even too much for you. I remember reading in a paper, one northerner was saying, if they won't listen to the elders, they'll be forced to listen to the youth. The youths are making their voices heard. And they won't be like the elders because they are not afraid to die. I'm sorry, some of the things I may say may be because I'm being negative. I'm not being negative. If you want to solve the problem, you must look at the genesis before you can solve the problem. If you want to sweep under the carpet, that problem will never be solved. Niger Delta people want social justice. Nigeria should talk to them. Derivation of 13% is not acceptable to them. It has to go up much higher. The compensation and all the pollution being caused, all those things, the companies have to. Luckily, the companies are now being more proactive because they've seen how much they are losing. Of course, the lack of employment, the youths are now saying, we want jobs. The oil industry doesn't create many jobs. But what are the local governments, the state governments doing with the 13%? Nothing. And that is also a problem. But one major thing is that those people, the people must be allowed to choose their leaders. If you impose leaders on them, whether political or youth leaders, they will react, and they react these days very violently. Talk to their genuine leaders. What is Asari Dogbo doing in jail for 18 months? When you were taking him, he said, if you take me, you will not see people to negotiate with, use to negotiate with. What has happened since he was taken? Things have deteriorated. Talk to him, bring him out. Luckily for him, he had become political. He had joined Pronaco. He was going to be, he respects Onauro a lot. Use those elders to assure him and his people that they are not going to take him again after you've released them. Those are the genuine leaders that the youth want to listen to, not the elders anymore. Now he must create, NDTC I know has done, but labor-intensive projects. Apart from the major roads, all the city roads, the village roads should be like paving stones. And those stones should be made by them. So that creates a lot of jobs. They need jobs. Many of them are hungry. When I was a young man, I would come from school and go and do fishing. That was enough for my mother to use it to cook and sell some. Now, no youth can catch any fish. The only fish they can catch is in the pipeline. Now, the issue of stakeholders. He must make those states stakeholders, whether it's 5%. I remember when 93 went to Malaysia and they were saying that in their LNG plant, the state there has 5% ownership. They didn't have to pay for it, but they will share 5% of the profit. Why can't they? We came here and we talked to government and they said, well, because you are from the Niger Delta. What's wrong with those states with the gas resources and so on having 5% or thereabouts of those companies, of the companies? We know NDDC is trying, but I also remember, and people keep on quoting it, one of the directors, when he was retiring, Sammy Young, I listened to his speech. He said, federal government has refused to make its own contributions, and I was shocked. The oil companies were contributing regularly, but federal government refused to make its contribution. In the first year of NDDC, Godwin probably been a government man, so he will not say this. I saw the federal government was to give only 15 billion naira. And only 15 billion naira. And that same week, I was reading through the newspaper, there was a less than 100-kilometer road that was going to be expanded by the federal government. The cost was 15 billion naira in other, now Niger Delta part of the country. They know that 9 states cannot use 15 billion naira for anything, even though the oil companies are contributing. In the past 7 years, the federal government should tell us one major road, highway they built in the 9 Niger Delta states. Apart from, they say, go to the NDDC. And NDDC is underfunded. And there's too much bureaucracy. Only now they're able to do things. Otherwise, most contracts were being given in Abuja for NDDC. So, ladies and gentlemen, we need to develop human resource. We need to train these people, skills acquisition and so on, but they must put the youths to work. And they must discuss with their authentic leaders. Don't impose political leaders on them. Let them vote for their leaders. That is very crucial. Now, most of the leaders have no hold on the youths anymore because they didn't vote for them. And they tell them, whether you vote for me or not, I'll get there. And you stay, if you get there, we'll try and chase you and make life difficult. The whole place is going down. Industry is running, no business. And the government, Nigerian government, cannot afford to play with the Niger Delta because it's playing with Nigeria itself. Even though Niger Delta will be the first front line sufferer, but the whole country that depends right now on oil revenues will suffer.